Welcome guys. I am making a dioxazine violet for you today. PV23, and I need to have a look if I can make this like a horizontal video. That's better. Just checking something for everyone. Yeah, that's not going to work. What to do? Alright, this should be working better than my previous attempt to go live. So, let's make dioxazine violet PV23. This is a hydrophobic pigment, and in one of my videos I kind of explained on, what I like to do with hydrophobic pigments when making them wet. So you can see this as kind of a tutorial again, because this isn't mixing, this isn't dissolving, these are just very small particles like floating around in the binder, but this pile over here needs to be mixed with the binder, which is spread around the pigment. And how I like to do that is by just taking my muller and making a thin layer of binder all the way around the pigment. You can touch it like the pigment, but don't start with the entire pile. I want to create a sticky surface all around the pile of pigment. Right, so I've now made a sticky circle around it, and what I want to do now is I slowly want to add pigment to it. So if you kind of just pay attention to the outer circle, it'll get more violet, and the longer I'll do this, like I'm carefully touching, you see that little swipe over there, I'm carefully touching the pigment and carefully adding just a bit of pigment at a time. I'll just keeping going around it. I can do it like this as well, and you can kind of push the pigment outwards, and as you can see I'm taking a little bit of pigment with me. Oh, this is an interesting technique to use as well, because like the powder that just is touched and sprays off, you see this isn't a pile of dry pigment anymore, this is floating on top of the binder, and here it's full of lumps and like it's not even mixed, but you can see the binder slowly changing color If you think, okay, I want to add more pigment, keep using that circular motion. Don't just like go over it like this. Why? This, like any phthalo pigment, is a very fine pigment. It's a very dry pigment. I'm not wearing a mask right now. I'm like sitting further away with my face than I'm usually are while making paint. But this will kind of fly around. I can show you on the Muller itself. I've just made a phthalo, but there's already some violet dusts on the Muller, so you can see it. It just flies around a bit. Hi there, welcome to my live. I think it's the worst time to go live right now for most of my followers. I think a load of them are still asleep. The other ones are at work. So this is the worst time to go live, I think. But this is the time I'm making paint, guys. This is when I do it. My hours are between 9 and 2. That's when I pick up the kids. So I can do it in the evening, but for the last couple of days I've been exhausted by the end of the day. So it's not always an option for me. I do work in the evenings, but it's mostly like administration or sending packages or things like that. Making paint is I'm more messy in the evening, and especially with pigments like this, I do not want to get messy at all. Like I said, I just made a phthalo green. Was live on my TikTok just to try that out. I think there's a speck of dust or something. Same for my TikTok. It's like the worst time to go live, I think, for any social media account. But the phthalo green wasn't really captured well on camera, as I could expect. I made some videos about it, and it's a difficult color for a digital sensor to capture, or for a screen to properly show. Same goes for this one. This is kind of like accurate as I see it in my screen. This will probably look like a puddle of black paint when it's fully dispersed. So right now, like, I only have a tiny portion of the pigment mixed in my binder, but dioxazine violet is such a tinting strong pigment, it will make it look black probably. Although the sun is starting to shine, I don't know if you can see any difference in the lighting. It's really annoying. I'm just going to. Can I focus it on one thing? Can I just focus? Can I focus on one thing, please? It's constantly readjusting the focus. It's annoying. I think the sun will help me, like, keeping it a violet color on the camera, since I'm really afraid that if it it looks like a puddle of, you know, black paint. You can see like how the color is just reflecting the light in a different way. It's really the phthalo blues do that as well. Phthalo blue green shade has a red shine over it. It's really weird. First time I saw it. Same as this is kind of a like a yellowish reddish shine over it. Also in the pan. Do I have any pans with layers on them? Yes, I do. Like this is a dried layer. This only needs one layer of PV23, but you can see that weird shine over it. That's not a violet shine. It's almost holographic. It's a property of the pigment. Phthalo blues have it, but you know, for instance, a yin min. That's blue. That's just blue. I'll make it this blue. It dries this blue. The pigment is this blue. It's just, you know, a very blue pigment. It's the bluest of all pigments when it comes to scientific measurements. So it reflects almost no green or red wavelengths in light or any other color of wavelengths. So it's, I'm talking RGB right now, but within the entire spectrum it only reflects, almost only reflects blue, and it especially reflects a lot of UV and infrared, or it reflects a lot of UV, reflects a lot of UV. So that's a mechanical property that, you know, yin min could be used for. It's not absorbing it, so that's a good mechanical property, but you know, not really particular for paint or, you know, anything that we can see visually. But if you would paint it on top of your roofs, it should make your houses a little bit cooler if you live in like very hot and sunny areas. Unfortunately, yin min is too expensive to use as a paint for your roof. It's almost too expensive to actually use as a watercolor paint as it is. So yeah. So now you're slowly, you're starting to see what I mean. It would blind the neighbor, yes, but it would blind them in a beautiful blue way. I think it's better. They're developing a white pigment now that reflects almost all light. It's not the whitest white, you know. Ignore anything about like hobby paint whitest white things from a certain maker. It's something really scientifically different. Like Fanta Black is scientifically different. The nanotubes of the pigment particles is just like I don't know if you off topic. Nanotubes are like, instead of a pigment particle which is a lump, it's a tube. So when light goes in it, it kind of reflects like and bounces in it, and it absorbs it within the pigment particle instead of like bouncing either back of the pigment particle or being absorbed by it. So it's nanotubes is like, it's a really interesting technique, and it's a really interesting development within that, you know, world of pigments. And I'm not even going to start about Anish Kapoor, because, you know, I fully get why like artists like us, or any artist wouldn't be able to use it, because Fanta Black, the patented Fanta Black, is quite it's almost impossible to work with the way it needs to be applied. There are nanotube blacks that kind of do the same thing that will be available to artists. So the blackest black, like the other blackest black paint, that's not interesting as well, since Those are just regular pigment particles, which a spinel black would, you know, I think it's actually spinel black that is used. Or spinel, I don't know how you pronounce it in English. But yes, on topic again, it would blind your neighbors. But it would make the world a little bit more colorful as well. Like, imagine having a rooftop like this. I mean, before you get blind, you would have a smile on your face, I think. Unless you don't like the color blue. Then it would be your worst day ever. Yeah. So, I think you kind of get what I started with like almost turning black. It really is almost turning black. If I put a lot of pressure on my muller and I move it around like this, this will blind your neighbors. This is almost like black light. My camera has, I think my camera is in pain right now. I'm actually sure about it. My camera is in pain. It's really hard for it to capture it. Same goes for like a phthalo green. It will look like a dark turquoise in camera. Well, it is a like almost chemically fake dark green pigment. There's nothing natural about it. Same as this dioxazine violet. There's nothing natural about like the color it would give you on paper. About this pigment though, it has a very large drying shift. I talked about it in my last video, in my last class. So what is a drying shift? On paper, there we go again. Can I kind of show it? On paper, when you're working with wet paint, you could have something that looks as violet as this, right? In its wet state. But when it dries, it will kind of dull down quite a lot. That's what we call a drying shift. So when it dries, it loses chroma. It gets less vibrant. For this violet, it's not really a bad thing. If you mix it with a little dot of white, you can mix great violets with this. As a mixer itself, you can do loads of great things with this as well. You can make great neutrals with it, but it is a very tinting pigment. So apart from it being quite staining, it is non-granulating, it is very tinting. So if you just use a drop of this with white, with a lot of white, you get a soft violet, lilac-like violet, with just a tiny bit of this. As you might be able to see, it gets stickier. You can maybe even hear it. I don't know, my air filtration is on as well, so but it gets stickier. A problem at this stage with sticky paint, I can add water with it, but then this would react even wilder. Like I can actually mix it with my binder because my binder is sticky. But if I would mix this with water, or if I would pour or drop or spray water on this, this would just float away over the water, away from my muller. So I want this sticky surface for my paint. So there's one like positive thing to it, that it gets sticky. It's easier for these pigment particles to stick to as well. So I can mix them more easily, or I can mix them more easily with the binder. I can wet the pigment. All right. So this is not. I'm mulling a little bit at the moment. So especially the sides. are milled more than the middle, obviously. As you can see, this is not milled. If you think this is milled painters, you know, start with class 1. Uh, but if I would mix this too fast, there will be too many lumps in my paint. I can do it slower, there's nothing wrong with that. Although my paint will dry out even more, and I would make it really hard for myself as well. But as it gets more sticky, this is not violet, like this is like a dirty brown at the moment. There we go. That's an in-your-face violet right there. So let me just, I can maybe, sorry for that, maybe you hear a lot of noise right now. I will just put my microphone down. You can see the microphone in the reflection. And that's sticky. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's dioxazine violet. PV23. This is not the 37. This is not PV37. Not it's like comparable sibling. But this is dioxazine violet. It's an in-your-face violet when it's diluted, or when you do this. Like I said, my camera is in. I can just. This is hurting my camera. I'm literally torturing my camera if I do this. It's like black light on a plate. Right. Just on the on the outside, I'm just making it. Yes, that's working a bit better. So, stickiness is good. Stickiness, but if it's too sticky and it's really hard to control, like the muller, it's easier to make mistakes as well, or I don't want to like put so much pressure in it and then suddenly releases from my plate and I'll end up with my muller through the window and a trail of beautiful violet paint like following into the garden. I don't want that. Like, I want to have some control over my muller. It's kind of a workout. Like, yeah, this is barely visible for you to see, but usually my heart rate is like around 50, now it's 95, so the thing is, and I'm probably repeating myself right now, but I'm not mulling, I'm just wetting the pigment. You can see it like here, there's all these little specks over there. These are all, it's not even pigment particles because the pigment is so fine, these wouldn't be particles. These are lumps of pigment particles like sticking together, and that needs to be mulled out, and that's the hardest thing with a pigment like this. And I have an appointment in about 20 minutes, so I'm not sure if 2 scoops of this pigment was a smart idea in the morning, but there's nothing wrong with a bit of pressure. Speaking of pressure, let's use that as well on my muller. It might, sound like I'm working out. I'm actually working out when I'm doing this, but I'm putting a lot of downforce at the moment on my plate. I don't know if any of you know, probably, yeah, you do. In the big factories, they use the 3-roll mills, like the big paint mills, and the amount of pressure that goes on pigments is ridiculous with those things. I cannot even come close, but there's such a big difference when you're using like pressure on your plate, or if you're just using it like loose finger. I'm mulling like this, like yay, I'm mulling, yay, yay. No, that's not mulling. That could be mulling, but it would take hours. I actually like to put a lot of pressure on it. It's a bit quicker, it's more efficient. And
dat is niet.
Oh no, Siri, it's none of your business. Like I said in the beginning of my live stream, this is probably the worst time to go live, since all of those on my side of the world are at work. Fortunately, this is my work, and everyone on the other sides, either of the two sides, maybe, of the world, are still asleep. I don't know, where are you from, Tracy? And Antigen, I think that's what it says. Sorry, I need to read it. Kind of my iPad is on the side right there. So, is there any pigment I wouldn't want to use pressure for? Yes, there are, and I'm not even using a muller for them. Those are the Shimmers. So there's been. I also want to say. You are from Europe. Look at that, Indiana, USA. That is quite early. Good morning. I have to say, like, that was last weekend. That was the time that I woke up, but that was not voluntarily. That was because I have two twin girls that were very energetic at a very early time. I'm not using a muller, but only using a palette knife for shimmers, so mica pigments especially. Micas is a natural mineral. You have synthetic ones, but you can see it as like little flakes, and like the surface of that flake is giving away that shimmer, is reflecting light. The more pressure you would use, the more you would break like the flake of a mica, the less shimmer it could reflect. So but there has been a debate about it. Like, you see the big, like, there's really big accounts on Instagram who only make shimmer paints. It is more satisfying, so I get why the videos, you know, would get more views, and there's a lot of, like, there's a big market for it as well. I've recently kind of launched a small line of shimmers myself, just to, you know, have it in my shop. I have them here in my studio, so why not make paint out of it? But ooh, dogs, those could act like kids. Like when our kids are at school, you know, our cats take over. It's like they want to either play or, you know, just whine about life. I don't know what their problem is, but that's, you know, about mica. You see the big accounts, you see them like using mullers, but they're using mullers, like I said, like they're mostly spinning it around. You see those like waves of paint rolling over the plate. That's beautiful to look at. You see the especially with the chameleon ones, you see the different colors in it. And, oh, seriously, Siri, mind your own business. It's something I wouldn't suggest for making paint. Cats do rule the world. Yeah, really. So we kind of lock them up in our living room at night. You know, they have their food and their litter box and everything, so, you know, they're fine and they're just sleeping on whatever they want. But I'm really afraid one of them will kind of struggle us at night if we do something wrong during the day. So sometimes the look of their eyes to you is like scary. Like, they're making me nervous. I love our cats. I used to have dogs, you know, at my parents' back in my youth. But dogs weren't just practical for us. Right now we have a really nice garden, which, you know, would give them some freedom. But with the kids and everything, we had our first cat before we had kids, and then the kids learned to love the cat, and the cat just, you know, we had twins. It was kind of hard for our cat to accept that she wasn't the only child, especially like two together taking over all the attention. But then, you know, when they grew a little bit older, she noticed that if she, you know, wanted their attention, you have 4 more hands that can pet you. She made use of that. But when our girls were 4, we got a second cat, which they actually chose. So it's more like their cat. And I think it's good for kids to, you know, see an animal or a pet like grow up, and they can teach them things. They get used to animals, and you know what animals are. Just, you know, they're living beings with feelings, and they can be really sweet. And the respect you need to have towards an animal as well, I think it's really important to teach your kids that. Okay, so you might hear it now again. Sorry about that. Stickiness. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. Oh, that is beautiful. My camera is dying from the inside right now. I don't know how your screens are doing, but so that went from a muddy brownish black to an in-your-face violet. This is dioxazine violet, PV23, and I'm not even halfway with mulling. I need to keep an eye on the time. No, I'm over halfway. Like, I've mixed it. Now, you know, there's no dry pigment on it in it yet, but it amazes me every time that I have like paint like this in front of me, when this is like the actual color it gives. So using quite a bit of distilled water here. So let's have a look. Heart rate 97 again, still. Now it's time for my like cool down, I think. There's still a bit of dry pigment. You can a bit. That's probably, yeah, that's on the side of my muller. So see how much dry pigment comes off my muller still. That's annoying. No, there are, yeah, there's just one other dioxazine violet, Tracy, but I know I like this one. I don't know what it is. The other one is maybe even, it's less chromatic. I need to say this right. It's less chromatic, but it has less of a drying shift as well. So, like, the in-your-face violet you have here, it's a little bit less with PV37, but you keep more of the vibrancy when it dries with PV37. But as a mixer, you know, my very first time I came in contact with this one, PV23, was when I was still on the Arts Academy, and I was using acrylics, and I needed a very strong violet, and I bought a tube of this from Golden, I think. Beautiful paint, and the label was like hand swatched as they do, which I really like. And the label was, it was a very thin layer of acrylic paint. It's a transparent pigment. Obviously, you know, acrylics show that pigment property very well, like transparency, like obviously no granulation, but I was so stunned when I opened the tube and I just saw black. I thought I see a beautiful, you know, a vibrant violet coming out of the tube as it, you know, the swatch on the side. And when I mix it with white, I can just, you know, titanium white, I can just a drop of that violet, and I had a background of a meter by a meter. So what's that? 3 foot by, you know, 3 foot something by 3 foot something. I could just paint the entire background with titanium white and just a drop of this pigment. But then again, you're still studying, then yeah, there's loads of deadlines, so the appreciation that I had for pigments wasn't as big back then, you know. I don't think I even noticed my PV23 on there. Oh, it does go a long way. Almost as long as the mulling takes. This is probably very terrible to look at, like my hand is moving way too fast and my heart rate is above 100 right now, so my body notices as well. But for these paints, it's really worth it. You can kind of still see a fine grain over it. It's kind of nearly impossible to is it relaxing from that side of the screen, really? Oh, I need to catch a breath. It's nearly impossible to get like the grain out. What I noticed with dioxazine violet in combination with my binder, I need to add that. So in combination with a binder based on honey, as it dries, kind of the grain, it just won't be, it won't be visible anymore. Even when you re-wet it, you won't see any pigment particle, which is, you know, good to know. But my first batch of PV23 lasted so long, and I just couldn't get rid of it. And then I thought, okay, I'll just let it dry and see. I put everything in a jar, and I put, you know, some dots on paper to let it dry, and it was beautiful as paint. So it's just, you know, getting to learn your pigments, how they react, what they look like. If I scrape it as paint, like, you cannot say that this is not beautiful paint. If you do so, I'll block you. No, I'm sorry. This is beautiful, right? So if this would come out of the tube, you could work with it quite easily. It's still a bit wet for, you know, tube paint, but like Tracy said, you just need a drop of it. So also, like the streaks of paint, I'll get it more visible as, oh no, I touched it. I'm using like invisible gloves. I've made a video about that, like it's lotion that forms a protective layer on my hands, so I can actually wash this off with water, which is great if you ever make paint, especially with pigments like this. But as I was wanting to say, you can see the streaks of paint, which means it's drying and getting sticky again. But I'm actually, and you don't want to know how much pressure I'm using on my plate right now, but I'm actually getting quite happy with what it looks like right now. Oh, sorry to hear that. That gets in your way in times like that, but I can fully understand, since I'm exhausted at the moment. Like, my body thinks I'm running, but I'm sitting. It just feels weird. But I actually think we're there. Let's have a look. Let's just scrape this off. Oh, I really like this. This does just look exactly like a black line. Yeah, we're there. I mean, I'm scraping it all to that side of the screen, but the paint that is piling up right there, that just looks absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, I actually can't take a break. Thank you, Stacy, but I'm actually in a hurry, since I need to leave in about 10 minutes. I need to scoop this into pans, clean my plate, and wash off my hands. So let's have a look. PV23, I'm just taking all the pans that have been filled with some of the PV23 from before. That's all PV23. Yep. Okay. And since I really just that I'm in a hurry isn't an excuse to skip this part, since for me it's quite an important one. That looks beautiful. Yeah, the lines that are like in there, that's not pigment particles. I need to kind of, it's in the metal here. I need to buy a new one, or use the other side. I'm going to use the other side. It's the downside of making mineral pigments, working with a metal tool. It leaves a mark. My Muller is actually something that is razor sharp. This is too sticky to me. Come on. We can do it, come on. I usually pour it's an average of 4 layers in a pan. Really depends on the pigment. Some need way more, some could do with 3. So this one, it's actually 3rd layer, it's a bit thick, but it's the 4th layer of this one. So these will, oh, don't want to make a mess, don't want to make a mess. So what was in this pan was, like, is going to be in this pan, it will shrink down a lot, so. So I made a concession with filling my pans. I really love the way, you know, the muffin top pans look. And it's like, it's a thing in the handmade watercolor world, but it's not a thing with professional artists that I've spoken to. When they use a palette of, you know, watercolor pans, they don't want to have the muffin tops because it makes a mess for them with the paints, which I can fully understand. So I'm kind of like going in between. Do I have a pen that is finished that I can show you? I think the Yin Min Blue that I have over here is a great example of, you know, a pretty full pen. I could add a dollop, like a small one, but this is what my pens like, what I like. I have a lapis lazuli here, which will need an extra layer just to get the dent out, but I won't make like a big muffin top on top of it. Exactly. So that's the thing, you know. Oh, it's really difficult since it looks less attractive. One, it looks like more generous when you do it, but the practicality of it is very important. Okay, these are filled. This one is not. I will wash my hands. I will clean it off. I will. Hi there. Well, it's you know, for me it's a hi, but also a bye since I'm going to clean up. Hope you like my live for Antigen and Tracy. Fun to have you here. I'll be washing my hands as well. See you next time. And my other class is actually online very soon. I've already recorded it and I'm working on the editing, so it's about prepping the plate and making binder. See you next time, guys, and have a wonderful day.